Today on Studio 18, presented by Old Venice Pizza Company, Athletics Director Ross Bjork sits down with Senior Associate Athletics Director Michael Thompson to discuss the 3 things you need to know about game day. Also, Laremy Tunsil's return, soccer's success, as well as responses to emails this past weekend. We will also be taking your questions, so email them at studio18@olemiss.edu or tweet us using hashtag AskRoss. Now, from the main athletics building on the campus of the University of Mississippi, here is Senior Associate Athletics Director Michael Thompson and Ole Miss Athletics Director Ross Bjork.
Good afternoon and welcome to Studio 18, presented by Old Venice Pizza Company. This fall, we're airing the show on the Wednesdays before each home game weekend so that you can get your questions answered by our Athletics Director, Ross Bjork. There's a couple different ways to submit questions for the show. You can go to OleMissSports.com and use the Ask Ross link at the very top of the page. Or you can use Twitter and the hashtag AskRoss. Ross, thanks for being here.
Grateful to be back.
It is. It's good to be back. Back in your office.
Nice studio we have here.
Yeah, very comfortable. You did not have to go far for today.
Absolutely.
So let's get to it. This was a very tough weekend on a lot of different fronts. Right. Let's talk a little bit about football in Memphis.
Yeah, you know, the trials and tribulations of college athletics and really life in general, you know, teaches us so many things. And you know, I think from a leadership perspective, we have to take what happened Saturday and figure out how to get better, how to overcome, how to learn from that. And to me, there's no better teacher than who we have as our head football coach in Hugh Freeze to really teach these young men that, you know, you have to play up at all times. You know, it doesn't matter the opponent, doesn't matter the lead, that there's so many teachable things that can happen from a tough moment like that. As hard as it is to recover from a loss like that, you've got to rebound, and really the leadership test will be how do we recover. And so I'm confident in our approach. I'm confident in our ability, the mental mindset of our team. And so, you know, we're going to come out and play inspired football on Saturday in front of a great crowd. It's another sold-out game. You know, that makes 17 out of 18 games. We'll have 60,000 people. So there's no better time to support this team than now. Yeah,
we're going to get into that in a minute. So you tweeted yesterday or 2 days ago about tweeted to someone, I guess, who had been maybe blocked on Twitter or something, and you talked to Coach Freeze and then tweeted his office number. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you know, there was a lot of emotions after the game, actually during the game. I was getting several tweets during the game and several emails during the game. And, you know, what's cool about athletics is the emotional side of it that can uplift and be positive. You know, the downside of it is people get emotional. And in the heat of the moment, they may say a few things that maybe they regret later. And so, you know, there was a young man who was tweeting at myself and Coach, and even after the game, and Coach Freeze blocked him. And you know what? The cool thing about the United States of America is we have the First Amendment. So the young man has every right to tweet whatever he wants, and our football coach has every right to block him.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what social media is. It's a self-selecting, you know, platform, and we think it's a great tool. And there's some people that say stay off of it, ignore it. Well, if you're going to be on it and you're going to engage in it and use it as a positive tool, then you have to take, you know, the negative part of it. And so yesterday I was talking to Coach about some of these things. We were adding some levity to the entire situation, saying, okay, here's how we have to move forward. And I brought up this young man, and he said, you know what, I'd like to talk to him. You know, why don't you have him call me, you know, in the office? And so I put out a public number, by the way. It wasn't a private number, a public number. And we got a few phone calls, mainly from opposing fans from several states that wanted to call in and talk to Hugh Freeze. And so, you know what, you've got to take the humility part of this and realize that, you know, we're all humans, right? We all take the criticism, we take the praise, but how you balance that out and how you respond to it, I think, is a test of character. And Coach Freeze is a great guy, but he's human, you know, so he's going to pay attention to this stuff because it's a platform that we all live on, but we also know we have to move forward. And so that's why we put the number out there is, hey, if you want to talk about it, let's have a dialogue and let's move on from there. So I think they made up on Twitter yesterday evening, Coach Freeze and this young man, and so we're all good. Let's move on.
It's good. I mean, we are blessed to work in an industry that people are passionate about.
The good thing is people care.
Yeah, they care. I mean,
you know, so the fact that they're responding, you know what that means, people care.
That's right.
And if it was the other way where we're trying to generate interest instead of responding to it, then I think we'd be in trouble. And the good thing is we have people that care.
That's right. So there's nothing like getting, I guess, the opportunity to bounce back, and we have that this weekend. We have, I guess, our first ranked opponent coming in, Texas A&M coming into the Vault, and it's going to be again, like you said, a sellout crowd. So we've got our 3 Things video that we're putting out later today. And so we'll go through those 3 things, and then we've got a couple other things to cover on the show. But so the first thing is about shuttles and post-game traffic, and really, I think you're talking about patience, right?
I think the more we've studied all this post-game traffic and shuttles, there's really game time has as much to do with the effect of post-game as anything. 6 o'clock game, people typically would like to get home sooner rather than later because it isn't, after 9 o'clock when the game is over. So I think the time of the game has the biggest impact on what we do. We will be efficient. We will have all the manpower and all the shuttle power that we have at our disposal to get people away from campus as soon as possible. But I think we have to preach the patience part of it. That, it's not a science, right? In terms of how we get people away from here, there's only so many roads, there's so many people, there's so many intersections that get people off campus, and we just have to understand that it's a process to do that. And so patience will be key, I think, as we leave the stadium on Saturday night.
The second of the 3 things was about tickets and specifically counterfeit tickets. We've already gotten some reports of some counterfeit tickets out there for this game, and with any big game, we're going to get some of that.
What the good thing about our product of football is that there's more interest than ever before, and so the downside of that is over the last couple of years for the big games, these counterfeit tickets show up, and so I think people really need to be mindful. If they're not getting them through a primary source like our ticket office or a company like Vivid Seats, who's our official secondary ticket provider, that they need to be very careful, that they check those tickets, make sure they're accurate, make sure they're real before they get in. Because when they show up to the gate and they're counterfeit and they don't scan, we'll try to help the best we can, but we're really at a loss too because we can't control that counterfeit ticket market. So people just need to be careful.
And the third, you touched a little bit on this in the intro, is atmosphere and home field advantage. I mean, having, a ranked opponent at home, we have a chance to rally behind this team and really create an advantage. We talk about that.
The neat thing about our stadium, we're not the biggest. We understand that, but we're all close to the field. And so by being closer to the field, let's be as loud as possible. So that impacts the opposing team, but also uplifts our team. We have a saying that our job is to provide the best platform for our student athletes, and that includes a packed house. But that also includes a stadium that's loud. And so our fans, we're asking them, we're urging them to support, their team, our team, in as many ways as possible. And that's really being loud on first down, second down, third down. Any down that we're on defense, make it hard on that quarterback to get the signals in, to get the plays called, because they can impact the game. Our fans can impact the game. We saw that in Alabama, right, in a big way. We saw that last year at LSU. We saw that at Gainesville just a few weeks ago, that there's an impact that can be made if people really buy in, every single time that we're on defense. So I know our players feed off of it, and really now's the time to get in. Now's the time to sort of circle those wagons. We're not giving up. The players aren't giving up. No one is giving up. And let's have a packed stadium that impacts the game.
Exactly right. They don't call it a home field advantage for nothing.
That's exactly right.
So after a long process, Laremy Tunsil returns this game, which is really exciting. I mean, I know we've had a lot of injuries, so it's great to have him back, and that was, I guess, announced last week. So talk about that process a little bit.
Well, first of all, he's a great young man. He's meant so much to our program, just his character and his leadership and, his smile. Every time you see him, he's got this big smile on his face, and, he's just a good-hearted person. And so the biggest thing for me personally in our program is that he's back. He's back. He's part of the team in a meaningful way. He can practice running our offense now. He can obviously play on Saturday. And then, from a need standpoint, that position, we're thin, with injuries that are piling up. And so we need him just from a playing standpoint. And obviously he's super talented. So, his platform is college football, receiving his education, honoring his mother. And so all the things that he's gone through, I think this is a redemption opportunity for him to play at the highest level and to play against a very good defense in Texas A&M and, propel our season, really uplift our team to have him back on the field. So the biggest thing is just to see him out there with his uniform on, his pads on, on that first snap. I know he's going to be excited, and our fans should be excited as well.
You ought to be well rested.
He's well rested. He's in shape.
Yeah.
He looks great.
He's got a full tank.
Physically, he looks great. And the process, there's so many things that happen
Yeah.
in there, and it's very complicated. It's not as easy as it appears on the surface. There's many, many layers to it. And I know that we did everything in our power to accelerate as fast as we could. But we also had to go through things that weren't in our control and get access to information that wasn't in our control. And sometimes those things take time. But we're glad he's back. We've got 5 regular season games and then the postseason. And we're going to make a strong run here.
So outside of this building, this department, it's easy for fans to forget that we call our student athletes student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy, when you're just watching games on TV,
Yeah.
but where we are here, we see the academic side of this each and every day.
Right.
And so this game was a special recognition where we're going to recognize all of our student athletes that reached a 3.0. There's 199 of them. Talk a little bit about what that means.
As we've stated since we got here, our goal is to have a cumulative 3.0
That's right.
of all of our student athletes, and we're inching closer to that. So having over 50% of our student athlete population with a 3.0 helps us, uplift that overall GPA, and to honor them, in front of 60,000 people, is just the right thing to do. They have a smile on their face. To me, it's the most special moment that we can provide is really seeing our athletes perform academically at the highest level. That's why we're here, to graduate our student athletes and let them perform, athletically. And so to parade them out, to showcase 199 student athletes, is just a moment that is why we're here. It speaks to teaching and serving and leadership that we provide. And, we get so caught up in the money and the TV contracts and one particular ball game, win or lose. We get caught up in those things, but we forget that, we're here to educate, and we're here to hand them a diploma when they walk across that stage, every May. And that's the big picture. And that gets lost, and we've talked about that on this show, is that we have to come back to center in college athletics, that it's about educating our young people. And so this platform gives us that moment to talk more about it.
No question. The Pavilion, it's been 2 weeks since we talked about that, and a lot is happening.
Yeah.
A lot's happening every day. What's kind of happened in the last 2 weeks, and maybe what's something that's
it changes every day, as we know by watching it on the camera. But then going inside, they've got paint going up around the building. They've got toilets being installed.
Yeah, it's
They've
exciting.
got tile. They've got concessions coming together. The playing surface, the wood floor is all nailed down. They're going to actually start painting that and putting the surface coating on the floor. They've got about 25% of the seats installed, the permanent seats. The retractable seats come in the 1st of November, so here in a couple weeks. It's starting to look like an arena. The Pavilion at Ole Miss is coming to life, and January 7th is opening day, and we are on track. We're opening on January 7th. We tip off at 8 o'clock against Alabama, and it'll be ready. You and I might be sweeping the floors.
We might.
Or painting something at the last minute.
7:55.
But we're going to be opening
we will.
For 8 o'clock tip-off on January 7th. So tons of excitement, and it's a game changer. We've said that. We've used that word. But it truly is a game changer for our entire athletic program and university. It's the biggest project up to this point in the history of our campus. And so we have to celebrate that, and we will throughout that weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's really neat to see it come
No
to
doubt.
reality. From being on paper to this, it's
I had,
pretty special.
that reminds me, I had a gentleman come up to me yesterday as we announced the preferred candidate for the chancellor position, and he told me, he said, I doubted you. I doubted the location. I doubted the design. He goes, but the more I see that, he goes, I'm a believer. He's like, that thing is amazing. He goes, it's a perfect location. He goes, thank you for having that vision. And I said, well, thank you for seeing that and coming around to seeing it the same way. So that gives you, some gratification that we're on the right track, and we can't wait to open.
No doubt. Our soccer team, it's on fire.
Right.
Talk a little bit about Coach Mott and what he's doing over there.
We've won, 6 out of 7. We've got to keep it going. We got a tough road trip this weekend. But, to me, you could take Coach Mott and have him coach football or basketball or baseball. It doesn't matter the sport. He just gets it. He inspires, young people. He understands strategy. He understands recruiting. And so our defense, I think, has really sort of set the tone. They had a slogan, tougher than the rest. It's one of their themes this year, and they've got a wristband. And so the defensive side of it has really started it. We have a great goalkeeper in Marnie Merritt, and she's done a great job of defending the goal, and so many shutouts this year. So now we have to finish. Now we have to continue. We've got 3 regular season matches and then the SEC tournament, which we've qualified for. And so we got to just finish strong and hopefully put ourselves in a position to host, again, the NCAA tournament like we did a few years ago. So really proud of what's happening on the pitch with our soccer team.
It's big time. So fan questions, we have plenty. We could choose 3. Again, if you want to submit to those, go to OleMissSports.com and click the Ask Ross button at the top of the page. We're going to come right out of the gate swinging. Mm-hmm. Why in the world would you schedule Memphis?
I've had that a few times.
Yeah,
I had a few tweets about that.
Even before the
game. A few emails,
yeah.
And when we made that decision back in 2012, really armed with a lot of data, and at that time I'd make the same decision today. Now things change, things are fluid in scheduling. We have a Power 5 agreement now in the SEC that perhaps there's not room for a Memphis type series in the future, but at the time, here's what I heard. I heard that we have to put a flag in Memphis, that the city of Memphis is so important to the University of Mississippi. It's our largest alumni base. So I heard that message. I heard that we had an opening, that we had to schedule some games starting in last year, 2014, so there was a little bit of a sense of urgency to get a series started with somebody. And we could go on the road. We could have a road game as part of a series. The other thing is I saw the record against Memphis. At the time we scheduled them, we were 47-10-2. I like those odds of beating and continuing to beat Memphis. And so they got us on Saturday. They beat us on Saturday. And so that's a natural reaction to say why. We have everything to lose. But I don't look at it that way. I look at it that if we're scared to schedule somebody, then we might as well drop out of the SEC. Because look who we play every Saturday in our league. And so we're not afraid to schedule. We're not afraid to be creative. And if that means a home and home with somebody, and some people may not like that, we have to do what's right for the program. Memphis is a great market and will continue to be a great market. We have to have the University of Mississippi in the Memphis market. And so we have a basketball series with them. We play baseball every year. We play them in a lot of sports. And so it makes sense to have a presence, in that city. And we'll continue to look at ways to do that. The series now may not continue after a 4-year series, and that primarily has to do with the way scheduling is now set up with our Power 5 commitment. So we'll see what happens, but we're not afraid to schedule the University of Memphis in the future, and I don't think our fans should be. I like the odds of playing them, and this year we ran into a really good team, and give them credit for knocking us off.
Yep. So we talked about our soccer team, which is female. One of the other questions was about when are we going to add men's soccer?
I hear that. I hear about adding swimming, and I hear about soccer, men's soccer the most. And there's a lot of things that go into it, as we know. One is Title IX. Right now we're in a good position in terms of the interest and ability offerings that we have with our sports. And so there's not, right now there's not a lot of interest among our student body for men's soccer. We're monitoring a couple sports within our student body, but soccer is not one of them. So there's that whole layer of the approach. And then you look at, facilities, And what would we have to sort of give up to add soccer? You look at the funding mechanism, and then you look at SEC offering. And right now there's not many programs in the SEC that offer men's soccer, and really nationally there's not that many programs that offer men's soccer compared to other sports. So you look at it in a global perspective, and right now there's no movement to add any sports, but in particular to answer that question, men's soccer.
So last question, what time will the Grove close on Saturday?
Game should get over around 9 or 9:15, and I think the policy of what we put out there is that midnight or 5 hours after this. Excuse me, 3 hours after the game. Sorry, I got 5 from somewhere else. 3 hours after the game, whatever comes first. So, you know, I would say around midnight,
yeah.
I think is what people need to pay attention to. And, you know, hopefully we're all celebrating around that time after a victory, and midnight is what people need to pay attention to.
All right, well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for the show.
Great to be with you.
Stick around for a quick update on what else is happening this week on campus, followed by a sneak peek of the season. Thanks again to Old Venice for sponsoring Studio 18, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
This week on campus, Friday night, Coach McRoberts and the Ole Miss volleyball team are back in action at the Gillum Center to host Tennessee at 6:30 p.m. Then Saturday, Hugh Freeze and the Rebel football team take the field against Texas A&M. The game is sold out. For tickets, visit official ticket partner vividseats.com. And finally, on Sunday, the Rebel volleyball team hosts First Place Kentucky. Match is set to begin at 1:30 p.m. Don't forget to join Hugh Freeze and David Kellum every Monday night at Buffalo Wild Wings for Reb Talk, beginning at 7 p.m. New this fall, watch the best college football show in the country every Wednesday at Rafters on the Square. This year, the Emmy Award-winning show The Season will premiere its weekly show on the rooftop of Rafters located on the Oxford Square. Admission is free. Do you have a little Rebel? Then sign them up for the Rebel Kids Club. The Rebel Kids Club is the official youth organization of Ole Miss Athletics. Membership benefits include free tickets to select Ole Miss sporting events, special members-only invitations, and the official Rebel Kids Club t-shirt. For more information or to sign up, visit rebelkidsclub.com. Make sure you download the app for real Rebels and start earning points and prizes just for going to Ole Miss sporting events. You could be the lucky winner to travel with the football team next year when the Rebels take on Vanderbilt. Download the Rebel Rewards app today by searching Rebel Rewards in the App Store and downloading.
We about to go do something for
SEC Now on the Bureau.
For SEC Now on the Bureau. Just a quick little interview, like I said earlier. So y'all just stay tuned and have fun.
Joined by number 38 of the Ole Miss Rebels, Mike Hilton. Mike, I was going to introduce you with your position, but it seems like over the last couple of years you've played every single one of them for the Ole Miss Rebels. Which one do you like the most?
I don't care where I play. You know, the coaches know wherever they put me, they can trust me and put me out there to make sure I'm doing the right things and making plays. So really just anywhere is fine with me.
Coach Freeze has called you the alpha dog. So who's the toughest guy on that Land Sharks D?
It's a lot of us. I'll probably say me because I'm the smallest, but everybody knows that I play pretty physical and play a lot bigger than my size. So I'll say myself.
You guys still control your own destiny there in the West. Do you guys talk about that there in the locker room?
No, we don't. That's where the senior leadership really takes over. You know, we just got to focus one game at a time, whether it's an SC opponent or out-of-conference opponent. So we just got to make sure the guys stay focused, and we know what our goal is, but we just got to make sure we take it one game at a time.
You were just talking about Memphis and how that has become a real rivalry. Why is that?
A lot of guys from Oxford go to Memphis, or a lot of guys from Memphis come to Ole Miss. You know, it's some family connections, friend connections all around, and you know, we respect Memphis, and we know they're ready to play, and we're going to their house this year, so it's going to be a fun one on Saturday. All right, thank you, no problem.